Yo, yo, yo. What is up, people? Let's start this live. We got my homie in the building. Mike, what's up, brother?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, bro.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a little bit now and finally making it happen. So
This
super
about
excited.
time.
I know.
What's new with you, bro?
Not much, man. Just here in a snowstorm. Got a few extra moments today. Just be on the computer, catch up on some things that I haven't been able to catch up on. So looking forward to that. And then hopefully we can get back to business tomorrow and Monday.
Yeah, that's what I was doing too. I had like all these little knickknack things to do, like emails, and I had to write a seller a letter and all these stupid little things that I don't want to do during the week. But now I finally got some time to do it.
Yeah, that's going to be me for the rest of the day, just catching up on little things. But sometimes the world gives you days like this where you just need it. And
Yeah, I needed it.
yeah,
So
just
yesterday, right? I felt like shit. I thought I had corona. I'm like, God damn it. The corona got me. But I took a test and it was negative. And then this morning I was completely fine. But that was for like the whole day yesterday. I had a crazy headache, was just
yeah.
feeling like absolute dog shit. I didn't really let it affect me, but I was like, damn, I hope I don't come down with corona. Took the test. The test was negative. Woke up completely fine today. And then I realized it probably wasn't corona. It was probably just crazy amount of hours that we put in this week.
Yeah, that happened to me like 2 weeks ago. Remember that? I just woke up and I was like, my brain's just not working today. Like my body is not working.
Mhm.
I can't even get up out of bed. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just crash like that. But when you're putting in the hours, like, I mean, we're working around the clock. So when you're putting in the hours like that, it's bound to happen at some point. But you just got to try
Right.
and get back to it.
I remember you were telling me about that. You were like, dude, I feel like shit today. My head's killing me. I got to take a little break. And that's exactly how I felt yesterday.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to listen to the body.
Yeah. So, dude, tell me a little bit about what you got going on right now. What have you been working on the past, like, few months? Like, where are you at?
Yeah, so I am a real.
My bad. Introduce yourself, who you are, like what you got going on, and then roll into what you're doing at the moment.
Cool. So my name is Michael Oconnor. I'm a realtor at Compass. I work out of the Boston office on 126 Newbury Street. I live in the South Shore, Bridgewater area. So I serve basically Greater Boston and the South Shore as a realtor. I've been at Compass since August of last year. I've been a realtor for about 6 years now. So really looking to grow my business and expand. I focus on a lot of fixer-uppers, multifamilies, first-time home buyers, and then have done a decent amount of luxury home sales as well. So just kind of building off of that, right? I went out on my own in August, so building a big realtor operation, keeping it lean and mean, not growing it too much as far as personnel goes, but trying to do a significant amount of business this year. And then at the same time, I have partnered with you and KM Investors to create a very sophisticated director seller outbound marketing operation, which has been what we've been working on pretty much every day for the last maybe 3 or 4 months. I think we started in October, but we're really doing well with it. It's definitely probably one of the better outbound marketing operations in the area. And we're going to continue to grow and going to continue to source opportunities for buyer clients, sellers, end users, etc. So really looking forward to the growth that's going to happen with that in the next few months, as well as the growth of my realtor operation that I have here. I'm really digging the roots in where I grew up. I know a lot of people here. I know who's doing business and who's buying houses and who's selling houses. So pick this area to plant my flag. And we're just going to continue growing it from there. Looking for a big year in 2022.
Love it. Yeah, dude, we're absolutely crushing shit. We've been working super hard. Me and Mike partnered up like maybe 2 or 3 months ago. Since then, partnered up with another guy who can run all of our systems, and we just got a full-fledged direct to seller operation going on. So that's what me and him are working on together at the moment. But tell me a little bit about your realtor business before we partnered up on this. What did your realtor business look like? Like, what exactly were you doing for marketing, and how are you getting all these multifamily deals?
Sure. So I have been a realtor, like I said, for about 6 years. I did move to Florida for a while. We can talk about that in a little bit if you'd like.
Hell yeah.
Working down there in retail development. And when COVID hit, I got laid off and had to move back to Massachusetts. Basically, had no job. My family was all here, didn't really know what to do. So I was like, you know what, I'll move back to Massachusetts for the summer. I was on unemployment and I just started selling real estate again. I was like, who can I partner with or who can I meet that's going to be buying real estate? And at the time, I saw that there was an opportunity in the multifamily space. So I just started networking with people that were buying multifamilies, young professionals, investors, seasoned investors, groups from all over, to be honest with you. And through connections that I had, a couple of mentors of mine had connected me with a few people as well, but just started being able to advise clients on how to buy multifamilies, right? I understood the numbers. I understood the tenant situation and what the buildings needed to get up to speed to basically get top of market rents. And people came to me because they respected that. And I was able to relate with them and show them how these buildings actually work and get them under contract for them. So just started working with a few of them, and then it grew to, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 buyer clients that I work with on a regular basis right now. These people are buying multiple multifamilies a year. So I grew the business basically just on the fact that I knew what I was talking about, and I knew how to find them, and I knew how to run the numbers on them, and I knew how to advise these clients on buying these big properties, right? We're talking multifamilies, 3 families, 2 families, 3 families, between $1 million and $2 million. So it's definitely a big undertaking and it's a big deal. But by just putting in the time and the effort and the work, a lot of people realized that, respected that, and wanted to work with me. And that's going to continue to grow, right? I'm working with, I don't know, 2, 3 multifamily buyers right now, looking at significant amount of property. I think I looked at $7.5 million worth of multifamily real estate the other day with some clients. So doing stuff like that is pretty cool, pretty exciting. Not something that people do every day, but just being in the right circles and knowing the game and knowing what you're talking about sets you up for success in something like that.
Yeah, so I think one of your really big superpowers is understanding those multifamily numbers. Like me and Mike got on a Zoom the other day, and we were underwriting one of the multifamily leads that we had in our pipeline, and he was going over the numbers on it, and I'm like, holy crap, this is why you are so successful in that area, because a lot of these projects that you're getting for these buyers are turnkey, right?
A lot of them are turnkey, or they need just like light cosmetic work. They might need kitchens, baths, a new roof, or maybe upgrade like the heating system or the water tank or whatever. But for the most part, they're turnkey.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different, right? You're dealing with buyers that don't want to put too much love in it. Are they coming in with cash and doing this, or are they getting some financing?
Most of them use financing, whether it's a commercial loan or 30-year fixed. Very seldom do you see somebody using cash for something like that, unless they're stealing the property at a really cheap price and they have to move quickly. For the most part, these people are using commercial loans.
So just to give the listeners kind of a background, there's 2 different parts, right? There's the wholesale part where typically these buyers are coming in cash and putting a lot of love into the property. Maybe there's like $100,000 worth of renovation that is going to add to the value of the house. And usually those deals are wholesale, right? There's a lot of on market deals, but where you find typically the best deals are from the wholesalers, right? When it comes to those cash deals.
Yeah.
Where, okay.
For
Love
sure.
it. So
I mean, it's hard to, if something goes to the market, it's hard to make the numbers work. So you got to get connected with the seller prior to it going to the market, negotiate to make him understand what his building's actually worth, so that he doesn't go to the market and just sit on the market and not sell his property. And then be able to connect to a buyer, whether it's somebody that's going to fix it up and resell it, or somebody that's going to fix it up, do a BRRRR strategy, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and hold it long term.
So tell me the difference of the buyers, right? Tell me the difference between a buyer that wants to go in with cash and do a big renovation and add some value to it, rather than a buyer that is using financing that just has to put maybe a couple bucks into it, or it's already turnkey. What's the difference like from what they're looking for?
Sure. So a buyer that is buying multifamily to build a portfolio and build wealth, they want to come in and do a cleanup, maybe, like I said, kitchens, bath systems, put a new roof on it, maybe do some landscaping or something like that, and then be able to rent the building out and hold it long term. They don't want to sell these buildings. They're buying them because they're core assets. They're going to generate good cash flow over the next 15 to 20 years. And they're trying to keep these buildings, right? Where somebody that maybe has a contractor background, you see it a lot in the city. A lot of contractors will come in, they'll buy these buildings, they'll clean them up, maybe have to gut a unit or two, do kitchens, baths, update the systems, put a new roof on it, side the building, get it ready for a long-term buyer to buy it. And then they'll deliver the building vacant. It'll be all cleaned up. We call it turnkey. And then they'll sell it. So it's basically like flipping a single family home. There's just 3 or 4 units in the building. And then they'll sell it to somebody that's going to own it, rent it out, and then hold it long term. So the end users are just buying the buildings basically after somebody has cleaned it up and flipped it. It's just a different model, right? You have the people that are looking to buy multifamilies to build generational wealth. Like they want to buy these buildings and hold on to them long term. It's a collection of assets that they're building, right? These guys, they own 2 to 20 buildings all over the area. So they're trying to buy them. They don't want to sell them. They might do a quick cleanup. Like I said, paint it, whatever, rent it out, hold it long term. And then fixers, flippers, contractors that will come in. They're looking to buy the property at an advantageous price, put some money into it, and then sell it and make a profit in maybe 3 to 6 months, something like that. So just a different strategy.
Yeah. So the buyers that you deal with on your agent business, they're more so looking for a return on their money long term.
Correct. Yeah. Most of the time, the buyers that I work with are just looking at it as an alternative investment, right? You have your stocks, equities. People are doing a lot of crypto right now too. They might have a portfolio or an investment at their workplace, and then they're looking to diversify. Sometimes they partner up with each other and go after these buildings as well. But they're looking to hold them long term. They like core assets. They want to be in great areas with really high rent, good tenant bases, nice, clean buildings, something that you drive by and you say, hey, I own that building. And you'll be able to tell your kids that you own that building. That's kind of the strategy that these guys are looking at. But I have worked with people that are fixing up multifamilies as well. I've talked to a lot of people about it. I've worked on a few of them myself. We actually flipped one in East Boston not that long ago where we had it under contract. Somebody really wanted the building. They were a contractor. They were going to fix it up and rent it out. So we ended up selling it to them, made a profit on the sale of the contract. And then they were under agreement. They renovated the building. It's a really nice building right now. I believe he just leased it all out. And he's going to hold that for a while, and then he'll probably flip it in a few years.
Love it. So if there is some agent out there, maybe some young agent that is looking for a strategy and they listen to this and they like that strategy, what would you say as far as, getting into these buyers? Where do you find these buyers for these multifamily long-term plays? And what is the most important things you're looking for? Like, I know the underwriting is probably huge. I think that's where you really come in and add some value to these buyers, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of it's repetitions too, right? Like to be able to go into a building and know exactly what you're looking at, right? What does the systems look like? Is the electrical panel all jacked up and the wiring's probably a mess throughout the house? Like, does the roof need to be redone? How long does a water heater last for? Like, just knowing these things too to be able to advise your clients. Because a lot of the clients that are working in this space are very math savvy. They know math, they know numbers, they're able to run the numbers themselves. They're very sharp, but they're not in buildings all day, right? They work in venture capital or private equity, where they're looking at spreadsheets and data in the markets all day, but they're not walking through a 3-family in, say, Dorchester or Fall River or Brockton, where they need to understand exactly what kind of shape this building is in, how much is it going to need to get it up to market value, what are the rents going to be once I do that, and then what will the value of the building be once I fix it up and rent it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So I think it's repetitions, right? For a young agent, they need to get in a situation where they can go into these buildings. They can walk through them. They can listen to somebody like me talk to a client about what needs to be done. Stuff like that's important. And then being able to run the numbers is definitely important. But honestly, it's something that you can learn pretty quickly. It's not overwhelming. And if somebody wants to learn how to do it, happy to chat with them too. Always looking to give out some game where I can.
Love it. Yeah, dude. So pretty much on the buyer's end, they see Mike here that is great at underwriting deals. They trust him. They trust his numbers. Mike finds a property for them, shoots them over the numbers, and they're like, yeah, let's go take a check.
Yeah, or no, right? That's as valuable as a yes to me, because it makes me not have to waste time, right? So I can get on to the next property, get on to looking at the next deal. So we either want to go take a look at it, walk through it, and see what the deal actually is, or be out and on to something else.
Cool. So venturing off into our business, what we're working on, just recently we pulled a lot of multifamily properties that we're going to go direct to seller for. So it's typically going to be the same type of deal, right? Just a little bit of different underwriting when we go to these. So just to give the listeners a background, my job in our business is to talk to all the sellers and lock people into contracts. After that contract is locked up, it gets sent over to Mike. He underwrites it and goes and finds our buyer. So when we do these, right, when we're going after these multifamilies, it's going to be kind of the same thing that you've been doing, right? Like, what's going to be the difference?
So the difference is going to be where negotiating with the seller on the front end, right? We have to educate the seller to understand what his building's actually worth and what it's going to bear on today's market, whether it goes to market or not. But we need to educate him on the actual value of his building and what needs to be done to it to get it up to market standards. And then it's basically looking at it on the front side. It's just comping a property like you would for a single family, or something that you're going to renovate and flip. Understanding the prices. Is it below market value? How much is it below market value? What needs to be done to it to get it to market value? And then we want to project what it's going to look like once that work is already done. What are the rents going to be? How much cash flow is it going to generate on a month-to-month or yearly basis? And then we'll take that formula, the actual pro forma, we call it, profit and loss statement, and we'll be able to put that out to our buyers, and they'll be able to look at it and be like, hey, this is a 6 cap deal. I'm looking for anything above a 5 cap. I'm a buyer. This is a 6 cap deal in a good area with good tenants, maybe Section 8 too. And then they'll be able to understand what the cash flow is going to look like, what the value of that property is going to be worth in 5 to 10 to 15 years, based on the models and the projections that we make. So that's going to be the harder part. But we got to get them for the right price, and then be able to underestimate the amount of work that needs to go into it, which is going to be probably the most important part. And then what does it look like once the work is done? What's the value of it going to be? What's the cash flow going to be? What's the tenant base going to look like? What's the rent's going to be? All of that.
Cool, man. Well, let's take it back a little bit. Let's talk about Florida. Actually, let's talk about before Florida. Like, what were you up to? I think you said that you were in real estate for 6 years. I'm assuming that was right out of college or while you were in college. Talk to me about like that timeline from then
Sure.
until
So I got my start in real estate. I was working at a hockey rink, actually, working for this guy that I knew. I was actually dating his daughter. He owned the hockey rink, and he was like, hey, you want to be a Zamboni driver? And I was like, I have nothing else going on. I'm a freshman in college. It's going to pay me $20 an hour, and I can still go to school full time. So I was like, sure, I'll do that. So I started doing that, and then I realized pretty
Hold on,
quickly
that's kind of cool. You were driving the Zamboni?
yeah, I was a Zamboni driver for literally like doing like college hockey games and stuff like that. I used to cut all the Stonehill college games, working with a lot of doing a lot of pro stuff. Like a lot of the pros were training there. So I was basically the Zamboni driver for a lot of the pros in the area in the summertime, which was cool. It was a cool experience. I got to meet a lot of people and get into a world that is very exclusive. The hockey community is small. It's very exclusive, a lot of high level people in it. So got to experience that, but quickly realized that the guys that owned the rink were all major real estate players in the area, right? One of the guys is one of the biggest commercial brokers in the country. His name's Robert Griffin. He works at Newmark Grubb Knight Frank, which is a major commercial brokerage, right? They sell like office buildings. I'm pretty sure he sold the old John Hancock building, which is 100 Clarendon, the big blue one that you see in Boston,
Mhm.
for like, I don't know, I think he sold it for like 500 million or something like that a few
Holy
years ago.
crap.
So like really big players. And then another one is this guy, Joe Zink. He works at Atlantic Management. He's the CEO there. He used to work for the Flatley companies. And he does like a lot of these big Amazon warehouses and stuff like that. He'll flip office buildings. He has a huge industrial portfolio. So I was like just seeing these guys all the time. They pull up in nice cars. Their kids are going to top tier schools, like all of this stuff. And I'm like, I want to be part of that. Like
What
that's
these
kind of
guys
the life
do.
that I'm looking for. Like I'm a Zamboni driver right now, so I am not living that lifestyle. I was driving a beat up Chevy Blazer. It
You're
was like
driving a beat up Zamboni, bro.
driving a beat up Zamboni, driving a beat up Chevy Blazer to work. Like some days I didn't even know if I was going to be able to get home. And I was like, I need that lifestyle. So I found some friends in the real estate space, and I was like, how do I get my license? One of them helped me get my license. I took the course at his office on spring break. All my friends were going away for spring break. They were going to like Florida, or I don't think they were going to Mexico. I think they were going to Panama
I
City
was
Beach.
going to Mexico. I was doing some fucked up shit in Mexico while you
Yeah,
real
right.
estate.
So everybody was doing that, and I was sitting
We
in an
won't talk
office.
about that. What stays in Mexico stays in Mexico.
I was staying just in an office. I banged out the 40 hours for the course, took the real estate test, got my license, and then I went to the guy that helped me get my license, and I was like, "Hey, I got my license. When can I start?" And he was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" And he was basically like, "You can't work here. Like, I don't have room for you. I don't have time to train you. You're new. You're green. It's going to take a while to get you up to speed. Like, I just don't have the capacity for that right now." So I was like,
Mhm.
"Shit. Like, what am I going to do?" So I basically identified all the places that I would want to work in real estate in my area. And I met this guy, Mark Donahue, who is a big commercial power broker in this area. He like really dominates south of Boston, between Boston and Cape Cod. Does a lot of office and industrial buildings, like B class office and industrial buildings. And he was like, "I'll hire you." I talked to him for like 2 hours the first day I met him, and he was like, "I'll hire you. You can be my runner. You can go pick up checks and drop off CMAs and do buyer showings for me." So I was like, "Cool." And he paid me $10 an hour. I was there every day for like 3 years, just all day long, just in the office, learning the game. And then at that point, I was at Bridgewater State, and I hated it there. I don't know if you know anybody that went to BSU, but it was like basically being in high school again. So I was like, this sucks. Like, not what I'm trying to do. The teachers were like stupid, to be honest with you. And I was just like I'm talking to one guy, and
You
he
know,
was like,
it's funny
"What?"
the business teachers that teach business in college that never own a business.
Right? I was like, dude, like, what have you done to qualify you to teach me? And he was just like, he had no answer for it. I'm like, get.
Mhm.
He was mad at me because I didn't have the book. It
You're
was
like,
like, we are getting ready to take midterms, and he was like, "You don't even have the book." I'm like, "Dude,
nah,
no."
dog.
I'm like, I can go spend $100 on a book? Hell
Right.
no. And then actually,
You're like, I'm gonna hustle homie next to me to do my work.
I'm hustling, bro. I'm running it up right now.
Right.
And I was super plugged in. So like I would park. I had a parking pass. I could park anywhere I wanted on campus and nobody could mess with me. So I'd be
Mhm.
like pulling up, parking like right in front of the building, and the teachers are parking like way in the back of the lot.
That's gangster.
And but it got to the point where it just like wasn't the right spot for me. I think the final straw for me was like one of our professors. He was teaching economics, which is like my thing. I love economics. And he was just like talking like super liberal. And he basically said that just because we go to Bridgewater State, like we're never going to amount to anything, and we're going to be working regular jobs. We're not going to be overly successful. Like we're basically going to school to be like blue collar working average people. And I was like, you know what? Like, fuck that. I like got up in class and I was just like, dude, like I'm gonna send you a picture of my first $10,000 check because I'm about to make it. And I'm out of here. Like I'm never coming back. And I straight up left, and I have not been back to BSU since. I transferred to Suffolk University.
Did you thank him or what?
I sent him a picture of that check.
Thanks, bro.
He was a cool guy, but he was just like, he wasn't a bad person, but he was just very, very short-minded, like university style person.
I
Um,
think actually he probably told you what it is. Like, yo,
he
you got
told me how it is. He really did. And I respect that. Like a lot of the people that I know that were in the same classrooms that I was in are not doing that much right now. And like that's a fact. So he told me basically that if I wanted to be something, I had to make a change. And it like I didn't get it at the time. I was like annoyed by it at the time. Obviously, it didn't react right in hindsight.
right.
But it made me it propelled me to realize that I needed to be somewhere else. So at that point, I went to Mark Donahue and I was like, yo, I'm dropping out of college and I'm just gonna do real estate full time. Like I don't need this shit. I already know what I'm doing. I have a ton of connections. Like I'm in the game. And Mark was like, "You're not going to work for me if you don't graduate from college." He was like, "Everybody that works here has a good degree." And he was like, "You can't work for me if you drop out of college." And at that time, I was like, "Okay," like I wasn't going to be like, "Screw you," because I really respected him and I wanted to be there. And two of his kids went to Suffolk University, and he had a good relationship with the head of real estate at Suffolk, which his name is Richard Taylor. And he was like, "Why don't you go into the city? I know you like the city. Like, it's kind of your vibe." He was like, "Go to Suffolk, meet Richard Taylor, take a tour of the school, look around, see what you think, and then come back. And if you get in and you want to go there, like, I'll help you pay for it." And I was like, word, sounds like an awesome opportunity, right? So I go meet Richard Taylor, who's a G, by the way. He just finished building the Omni Hotel in Boston, where that Coquette restaurant is, like right across from the Expo Center. He's building a massive project in Nubian Square right now. He was head of the transportation department for MassDOT for like 20 years, like just an old dude, but he's super plugged in. Met him, saw the college, and I was like, this is where I need to be. It was super international. A lot of like really successful business people's kids went there. A lot of international like kings and princes, princesses from like Dubai and everywhere in the Middle East. A lot of big dogs from Turkey. Like one of my
You know
really
the funny part about them? Sorry to cut
yeah,
you off. Is when they go back to their country and just leave their car.
they just leave their car. Like it was crazy, bro. They'd be pulling up in G-Wagons, like parking
Yeah.
outside of the building that school is in, where like you can't park, and they'd have like 10 tickets, bro. They just get them, fucking throw them on the seat, and just like get back in the car and drive back to the Ritz Carlton. Like it was wild. So I was like, I love this, right? This fits me. Like I'm a city boy. Like I like that style. I like business, international business, all of that. So I went to Suffolk. I was there for 2.5 years, studied real estate and entrepreneurship. Got a great degree, really met a lot of really high level people. And it was the opposite of Bridgewater State, where the teachers at Suffolk all are like full-time professionals. They all work. Like the guy that taught me real estate law was like a real estate law. He had a real estate law firm in Boston. Richard Taylor, he was teaching me real estate. My senior thesis was to build and design what is now like Suffolk Downs. I don't know if you're familiar with Suffolk Downs in Revere.
No.
It was an old horse racing track, and this group bought it called Heim Investments. The guy that owns Heim Investments, his name is Tom O'Brien. He went to Suffolk and he went to Suffolk Law.
Mm-hmm.
So Richard Taylor knew that he was buying Suffolk Downs. And he basically was like, if you were Tom O'Brien and you were buying Suffolk Downs, what would you do to maximize the site? That was my senior thesis. So like something like that was cool, right? I'm master planning, like I think it's like 140 acres in the middle of the city. And then so like that's what we were doing at Suffolk. So that was a cool experience. Definitely changed my life. And in 2018, which is when I graduated, I was also a nightlife promoter. That's how I was making money in college. So
Mm-hmm.
back to hustling and not ever having a real job. I would promote. I didn't have class on Friday, so I would promote Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, selling tables, selling out private events. Like it was crazy. Be making like 1,500 to like 2,500 bucks in cash a weekend.
Damn,
Just
college
running.
student.
I was running it up like in the scene. I knew everybody. I was hanging out with athletes, like a lot of developers, big finance people, the nightlife people, all the restaurant owners, really living a cool, exciting life. And then 2018 in the spring, graduation comes along, and it's time to graduate from college. And right before that, my mentor, George Sarkis, who I was working in nightlife with at the time, he was like, hey, I'm starting like a full-fledged residential sales operation. I'm joining Douglas Elliman, which is a big national brokerage for residential luxury sales. And he was like, I have a lot of contacts, like I have a lot of connections. I'm trying to build a great business from it. Do you want to be on the team? And I was like, I honestly have nothing else going on. Like, I haven't even applied to any jobs. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So why not? Right. Let's make it happen. So I started doing that right before I graduated from college. That was the scariest day of my life. The day I graduated from college was the best day of my life. And then the day after that was the worst day of my life so far. Cause I was just like, shit, like everything that I know just totally changed. And I'm on my own. Like I'm in the real world. I have $100,000 worth of student loans that I have to pay off. I have bills. I was paying like $1,500 a month for my apartment. I had no income, like nothing, right? And I'm just like, what am I gonna do? So I just deep dived into that for about a year, and I was just shadowing George and helping him on his deals, learning as much as I possibly could, meeting some people along the way. And then I got to a point where I wasn't making enough money to stay in Boston, and I had to make a career change. And one of my good friends from Bridgewater grew up with me in Bridgewater, where he lived in Tampa, Florida, which is like my second home. My parents have a place in Clearwater, which is the next city over. He was like, hey, I just joined this new company. We're building retail stores for national tenants all over the Southeast, and they're looking for another cold caller. Are you interested in joining? And I was like, live in Florida. I don't have to pay rent because my parents own a place there. The weather's great, like all of that. I was like, yeah, sign me up. So I flew down there, met them. They hired me, moved down 2 weeks later, just started cold calling. Basically, they taught me how to cold call. They taught me how to talk to like really high level real estate people. We're talking to like people that own 100,000 acres in the middle of Florida, like that are big landowners. We're talking to investment bankers from New York City, people from Miami that live a totally different lifestyle than the people in New York City. And we were buying property all over the Southeast, from Louisiana to North Carolina to Miami, right? If you look at that triangle. And I did that for about 18 months, got really good at it. And then COVID hit and I got laid off. So that's
what were they looking to accomplish? Like, what were you co-filing?
for what?
Like, what was the company trying to? What were they trying to do? They're trying to build something, or like?
Yeah. So basically, we were building stores for national tenants, right? So you have like Wawa, which is a big gas station in the Southeast, Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, Walgreens, and Publix grocery stores were our big clients. Also, Chase Bank. The guy that I was working for built like 38 Chase Banks, which is pretty
Shit.
crazy. Yeah. So
Hey, dude, so let's think about that, right? It's pretty much like wholesaling single family houses or multifamily houses, right? Just doing it on the commercial end to freaking, and instead of your buyers just being, the buyers that we deal with out here in our market that are buying the multis and just single families for flips or whatever, your buyers are the owners of CVS and Walgreens and Wawa and stuff like that. And you're
yep.
going to find them deals.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, and it was very set up very similar to our operations that we have at K Investors. But basically, we had an acquisitions team, which were the wholesalers, right? So we were doing acquisitions, putting sites under contract, and then essentially selling the sites to my boss. And then he would develop them. He'd negotiate the deal with the national tenant. They would sign a 20-year lease that locks them in for 20 years. He would build the store. Once the store is built, up and running, then he would sell it to an end user, somebody that's looking to invest in triple net assets.
Holy shit.
So it was basically, he had like a full-fledged wholesaling operation. And whether he knew it or not, I don't know. He's a super smart guy. But that's kind of how he built it out. He used to be one of the top bankers in the Southeast for Wells Fargo. And then he left Wells Fargo, went to a big, I think Wells Fargo got bought out, or Wells Fargo bought out the group that he was with. So he stayed at Wells Fargo for a while and then just was like, this isn't for me anymore. So then he got into being a CFO at a huge development firm called Paradise down in Florida. Then Paradise blew up in 2008 because they were over leveraged. And then he started his own operation after that. So that's kind of how that worked. But he had an awesome operation, right? He had 3 cold callers. He had a lead manager. Then he had a dispo guy, a transaction coordinator. He had an admin. And then he was basically the relationship person, right? He would step in and talk to a landowner if he needed to. He was talking to the financial partners that were funding our deals. He had great relationships with a lot of the heads of these national tenants, not so much the heads, but like the heads of real estate for these national tenants. So he would just build relationships, and then we would be cranking out the day-to-day, finding sites, putting them under contract, getting them approved for what we were trying to build. And then basically he would close on them, do what he had to do, and then he would sell the building when it was done.
Yeah, dude, that's literally the exact same operation that we have.
Yeah, and it was cool because he was an old head too. He was probably like 55, but that's the game, bro. Like, it works, right? That's why we have our operation set up the way we have it set up, is because like you have to have your team. Each team member has to have their role. Everybody has to work hard in the operation to get it done. And if you set it up right, it goes through step by step through the process, and it works.
Love that. So just for the listeners too, Mike, actually, one of the hats that he wears in our business, he is coaching our cold callers and our lead managers and stuff on how to have these type of conversations. So he's doing call calibrations with them and all that, because actually, let me reverse a little bit. When me and Mike first partnered up, I already had the operation going, and he came in and he was doing a lot of the lead management, and then the leads would just get kicked up to me because that's what he used to do. So his skills were in that. His skills were in doing lead management and, cold calling and stuff like that. So he was doing that to begin. And since then, we've kind of developed and had another partner come in, and our operation is a little bit more scaled now. But one of the hats that he wears right now, which is so freaking important, is coaching the cold callers, coaching the lead manager, making sure they're having the quality conversations that he was having back down in Florida that he got coached up on. So just a quick background. But yeah, dude. So explain exactly what your job is in our business. Explain our business a little bit. You already kind of did, direct to seller, but give a little bit more background about what we do and exactly what you're doing in our business.
Yeah. So what we do, right? We're a direct to seller real estate investment company. We go out and market to sellers that we think might be looking to sell their property in the next 60 to 90 to 120 days, right? We reach out to them via our cold callers, figure out what the situation is with their property. If they're thinking about selling it, they get pushed to our lead manager, who builds a relationship with them. And then once they're ready to sell, Mike Gomes gets on the phone, basically negotiates with them a deal that works for everybody, how we can help them out. One of the big things that we try to do is we try to help our sellers out, because a lot of them have some sort of stress or pain point that they're not able to.
So we're not trying to steal houses?
We do not try to steal houses. A lot of, like, we've even had conversations where we're like, look, like, we're here to help you. And like, at that point, like, we're not even interested in buying your house because it's going to be negative towards you. Like, we don't want to do that, right? So like, if we can help you, great. If we can't, then we're not your guy, which is fine. But so our leads come in from our cold callers and get pushed to our lead manager. She is the one that builds a relationship with these people. She checks in with them regularly until they're ready to sell. Once they're ready to sell, they get pushed to acquisitions, which is Mike's job. And then he gets them under contract. And then it's my job to underwrite the deals and then find a buyer to buy the deals, right? So that's kind of how our operation goes. We look at different kinds of property, right? We look at investment property. We look at properties that we can do seller financing. We look at fix and flips. We look at straight wholesale deals. And we also do realtor deals, right? Like, if I meet somebody or our team meets somebody that's like, hey, my house is in good shape, I'm looking to sell it. I need a realtor. They just push it to me. I set up a time to go meet with them, and then we'll put it on the market, right? So we have a full-scale investment operation based around helping people that are in a situation where they are unable to sell their property in its current state, whether it's because of their health, they might have moved, they might have tenants in there that they can't get out, the house might need work. There's a lot of different things that come up in our day-to-day basis, our day-to-day business, but we're trying to help people get out of property that they don't want anymore. In my job, I guess to answer that question, my job is I train the cold callers on outbound marketing and how to have better conversations with sellers. I underwrite all of the deals that we look at for the most part. Usually it's me and Mike underwriting these deals. And then I'm right now building out a buyer's list for our business, right? So we can have buyers for properties as they come in. That's one thing that we really want to do is when we find a property, we want to know who's buying it pretty much before we're engaged with the seller, right? If we can do that, we'll be able to move properties quickly and then essentially grow our business, and who knows where it can go from there.
Yeah. So if you're a buyer, listen to this right now. Make sure you contact Mike.
Yeah, we want to connect with you. I'd be happy to grab coffee, come see one of your projects that you're doing right now, or jump on a Zoom, whatever it is. But we have a good operation going right now, and we're going to have a lot of investment property and a lot of fix and flips for people that are looking for those. So if you are looking for one of those properties, connect, because we want to build relationships with you, and we want to be able to help you too, right? We know that there's not a lot of deals out there. Deals are slim pickings. I'm a realtor. I know that pretty much every market has under 10 homes for sale. Every town, I think a few towns I was looking at the other day have less than 6 properties for sale right now, and we're coming into the spring market. So there's not a lot of stuff to buy out there, and we're spending a lot of time finding it. So definitely let's connect. Be happy to jump on a Zoom or meet for coffee or come see a project.
Yeah, we'd love to know the buy box that you want and reverse engineer that so then we can go find that project. Because in the backgrounds, who's doing all this stuff is we have another partner. His name is Andrew, and he's a freaking beast with systems. And he's the one generating these leads. He's the one that's making all this shit happen in the background. So what Mike could do, Mike is going to get everybody's buy box, right? Figure out what exactly you want as far as a project, what you're looking for, what areas and such of that nature. And then we're going to take that information, and Andrew's going to do his integrator things, right? And reverse engineer those deals. That way we're feeding you the deals that you want.
Yeah, we got it set up right now so we can pinpoint what we're looking for and have a lot of conversations with the people that have what you're looking for. So we're looking to reverse engineer that. Not saying that's going to happen on every deal, but it's definitely something that we want to do. We want to have good relationships with buyers and end users just because it's going to make our business better. And if we can continuously get deals for our buyers, they're going to keep coming back to us for more.
I love it. All right. So for my favorite part of the show, let's take Mike in the middle of a random city. You ain't got no connections. You ain't got no money. You're hanging out on a park bench. What are you doing to go hustle?
All right. So what am I doing to go hustle? Right. So I am going to do essentially what we're doing right now. As long as I have a cell phone, and hopefully I have a computer. Not sure if I do on a park bench. But basically I'm going to have to find one, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find property that I think has opportunity, whether it's to be flipped, wholesaled, or sold on a market. I'm going to connect with the seller, negotiate some sort of compensation for me to do what I do, whether it's fixing it up, getting it ready for an end buyer, finding a buyer for him, whatever it may be, right? I'm going to have a conversation with him, try to negotiate some sort of deal, whether it's putting it under contract or getting a agreement to sell it. And then I'm going to sell that property and make money. And then I'm going to take that, buy a computer, get systems, get data, maybe get a few VAs. And then I will create a new operation that we have right now, finding distressed sellers and then buyers to buy these properties and just connecting the dots. That's what I would do. It's the best way to make money on a large scale. without having to get a job or anything like that, right? Like you can invest in crypto or you can invest in the markets, but you have to have money to do that. So I would definitely look to connect seller with buyer in some sort of way and make money off of that by using my cell phone.
So do you think it would be a good idea to go find your buyer first?
Yes, but I would be like looking for them both at the same time, right? I'd be looking for distressed property as I'm moving around, and then I'd be looking for people that are buying in the area, right? I'm looking at signs for new builds, right? If somebody's building a house, I want to know who's building it. If somebody's just bought a retail center, I want to know who bought it. And then I'm going to go out and I'm going to cross-reference these sellers that have property that they're not using or not maximizing the value of, and then figure out who are the major owners in the area, who's doing business in the area, and then try to make sense of it and connect the dots, right? That's kind of how I built my business right now. And that's the way I would continue to do it no matter where I went. You can do that anywhere.
Yeah, dude, I was on a podcast the other week and my boy Jonah, he asked this question, like, what would you do if your business went to zero? You're never afraid of that? I'm like, well, then I just go door knock. Like,
Yeah, right.
I'm going to go knock on every damn door of every distressed seller that I could. One, I guess going to find the buyer first is cool, even though we understand what a deal is, you know? The only reason why I say that is because if you go out to the buyer, right, and you find exactly what his buy box is and he's already doing business, he already knows where everything is. So he's going to give you some insight like, dude, I'm looking for these single families. I've done about 10 in this neighborhood. Go door knock every door in that neighborhood. Go find them. So that's why I was thinking maybe that might be the good case if you're in a random market to give you some give you a blueprint kind of what you need to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. And honestly, when I came back from Florida, I was kind of in the same situation. I hadn't lived in Bridgewater in like 6 years. I didn't really know what was going on here. Like I just completely removed myself from the situation. And when I came back, I was like, who are the buyers? Like who's buying deals right now? Connected with them, figured out what they were looking for, and then was able to connect the dots on a few of them. So yeah, I agree with that. Because if you go look for distressed properties, you're going to find a lot of shitty property that nobody wants, and you're not going to be able to sell it. You're just going to waste your time, your money, and your energy. So being able to find a buyer that's like, hey, I'm looking for 3 properties this year. I want a 3-family, a commercial space for my office, and I want to buy a small hotel or whatever it is, right? You can be like, okay, where are all the hotels in the area? Where are all the office buildings in the area? And then who's got the 3 families in the area? Is there anything on the market? And then you can go out and you can connect with the sellers, try to figure out what the deal is, and then maybe make a deal. I think that probably be the right way to do it.
Dude, I think we should do that. I think we should.
I don't know. Did you see
the next
Cardone?
Yeah, hell yeah. I love
So that's what he did. He was just like, I'm going to go find who's buying deals. I'm going to go find a deal. I'm going to put it together, and then I'm going to sell it to him and make a bunch of money. And that's how I'm going to make this happen. And he basically did.
Gangster.
Yeah, but that's what he did. He had $100 and like, but he's good at what he does, right? He knows how to cold call. He knows how to sell. He knows real estate, and he knows how to build relationships. And it's no different than what we're doing right now. Like I was watching a thing with him the other day, and it was actually something different, but it was a realtor that has 25 years of experience and then a kid that had like 2 years of experience. And he's like, the difference between me and you, and I've been doing this for 25 years. He's like, there's really nothing that I haven't seen. And now we're starting to get to that point where like, I've been doing this for 6 years. Like there's a lot of stuff that I've seen, you know what I mean? I've seen it happen. I've seen how it works. I've seen the good situation, the bad situation in it. Obviously I'm not a master. Like there's still a lot to be done to get to that point. But they say to be good at something, you need to put 10,000 hours in. And I've definitely done that.
Oh yeah, bro. That would be so dope going like, maybe once we lift ourselves out of our business a little bit, because right now we're both in some roles that are essentially employee roles. Like I'm banging the phones every day on acquisitions. I'm going on appointments. I'm doing all these things. Mike is, doing all the dispositions, which ultimately we want to put somebody in those positions so we can go out and do the things that we need to do. By the way, that's a lead.
That's the money counter going.
So, anyways, I think it would be cool once we do lift ourselves out of it to go just hop in a random market and try to make things happen. Give
Yeah,
ourselves
go to like Wichita, Kansas or someplace
no, that
and
would be
run it
fire.
up.
I'll do that.
We're going to Florida, bro. That's where I'm headed.
I'll humble myself. I ain't getting nothing done in probably like 2 weeks. I'm like, damn, you ain't shit, bro. But hell no, I'll go out there and make it happen.
Yeah, there's opportunity, right? Like one of I have a good network down in Florida. One of my best friends lives in Houston, Texas, which is a big wholesaling market down there, a great luxury real estate market as well. So like there's opportunity to expand, but we just got to get a little bit more set up where we're at right now. And like you said, try to get some really high level people to take over our roles so that we can go and set up operations and do different types of businesses elsewhere as we continue to grow.
Yeah. So actually, to harp on that a little bit more too, while we're doing that, like while we're in this business, playing the roles as employees and business owners at the same time, we're aware of, the expense of having us as employees.
Mm-hmm.
For a perfect example, when I had my junk removal business, we would have to think of it. If I was in the truck, like in the beginning, I was in the truck doing some jobs and we had to think about it like, hey, we're going to end up paying an employee like $20 an hour. We're going to make sure we're still profitable. So
Right.
while I'm on these phones, doing all these calls, locking up contracts, we have to keep in mind and pay ourselves a commission of what an employee would be paid on those deals. That way we, once we lift ourselves up, we still have a profitable business. So
Right. And we were talking about that pretty in depth the other day, right? Because like the goal is for us to not be doing the day to day in like 6 months. We're cool doing it now because we're young, it's fun, like we're doing a lot, but it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy. And for us to continue to grow, we're not going to be able to do acquisition calls and lead manager calls and stuff like that. So, but yeah, and then being able to build a legit business, right? Like one of my clients, his best friend is getting ready to sell his business for like $40 million right now, which is crazy, right? He built it in college. He's got a good operation, and somebody came to him and was like, hey, we'll buy that. But he has a good business, right? He knows his income. He knows his expenses. He knows he can project year to year what his business is going to look like. He knows his valuations. He knows how he's growing. He knows what he's paying his employees. He knows what his office building costs, like all of that, right? He knows this stuff. And that's how you build a real business. A lot of people are just running around hacking it, trying to figure out, or just trying to make a buck, or just trying to be profitable. But to build a real business, you got to build out these financial systems in it and understand what things cost and what roles cost and what people cost and all of the different costs and how to generate consistent income,
you
It's
got to measure it to figure out if the business is healthy or not. One book that I would recommend people read is Profit First. Now that's the model that we go off of when income.
Our whole business is built around that.
Right. And just to go into the book a little bit, it structures you when payments come in. You have to disperse it in all these types of ways to make sure that your business is still healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a great book, Profit First by Mike McAllowitz, I think it is.
Yep.
I think he wrote that book. Yeah, great book. But dude, I appreciate you coming out here. Do you have anything else to add?
No, other than just if you're young and you're in the real estate business, or even if you're not young, right, and you're trying to get into the real estate business, don't be shy to reach out. We love connecting with young investors, young wholesalers, young real estate agents, young flippers, stuff like that. We'd love to connect with you. We want to build a relationship with you. We want to be able to help you. One of my big things is always sending the elevator back down, right? A lot of my mentors have been super generous in giving me the knowledge that I needed to have success in this business, right? And that's sending the elevator back down. So that's something that we want to do for up and coming people in the business. We're really an open book. We link with people all the time, and we let them see our operation and how we're doing it. So if you are a young investor, wholesaler, flipper, real estate agent, and you want to chat, definitely let's set up some time to grab coffee or meet. You can come by the office, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do. We actually have a couple of wholesalers that we work with in the market that will come in and just hop on our Zooms and just be a fly on the wall while we're doing our team activities, our team huddles, seller calls, all the fun things that we do. So it's really cool. So hit either myself or Mike up on Instagram. if you guys want to connect. But Mike, dude, I appreciate you coming on here, brother.
Yeah, man, definitely a good experience. I'm happy that we got to make it happen.
Yeah, we'll have to do another one like a few months down the line. After the fact, we try to lift ourselves up.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't. Maybe we're like, shit, we're still in here crushing calls. But we'll see.
We shall see. I feel good about it. But yeah, it'd be nice to do one again in a few months to show the progress, because one of the big things in real estate, I've been preaching it to you a lot, is you don't get paid today for what you do. You get paid in 60, 90, 120 days from now, right? So you got to put in the work now to get paid then. If you don't put in the work now, you certainly ain't going to get paid then, and you ain't getting paid now. So we're putting in the work. We've been doing it. It's starting to show. And my guess is that in another 120, 180 days, it's going to be a lot more fruitful.
Right. And you just have to go through that period of not having these checks coming in, especially in the beginning. Because, like I said, it takes a little while, especially in real estate. It's not like you can go out, like my junk removal business, we can go out and do a job, pay that same day. Like, that doesn't really happen. A lot of these leads that we're talking to, we end up touching them like 14 times, and then it's a contract. And then once it's under contract, it could take another 2 months, 3 months, whatever the case is, for the deal to close, and then you got to get paid. Like one of my first deals had it under contract for like 5 months. It was crazy.
Yep.
So these transactions take a while, but once you build a healthy pipeline and you're constantly doing contracts, the money just starts flowing in. Like it's going to start flowing in month after month after month, and then you really start seeing the healthier business.
Yep, for sure.
But all right, brother. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. Peace.
Peace.